Okay, y'all, I'm out in the country, so I don't know if my signal's gonna hold. I tried a little while ago and made some adjustments, so we'll see. Anyway, I am in China Grove, Rowan County, North Carolina, sitting on the front porch of my grandparents' farmhouse, which my grandfather built 100 years ago. So I have come to work here and to live here for the next little bit, the next week or so. So I thought this would actually be a great place for me to talk to you guys about some St. Luke's way back trivia. You know, the thing about this house and this place for me is that it's always here and waiting for me. Even when I'm at home in Atlanta, even when I'm with you in the church building at St. Luke's, I know it's always here. And the great thing about it is that when I come back, even though I know exactly what it is, it's always better than I remembered it. And that is what I think we're going to find when we get back to St. Luke's. So what better place for me to help celebrate Trivia Week with you than from this front porch? So we're between showers here. I hope it's sunny and nice, or at least peaceful where you are. So I wanted to start with telling you that my family, it was actually just my husband Mark and I, we joined St. Luke's in the winter of 1990 after visiting on a whim on an Easter Sunday, on the Easter Sunday in 1989. We were drawn to the church by the stained glass window that was lit up at night. We were driving by on our way to the grocery store on Saturday night, and we looked at each other and said, that's where we're going to church for Easter. And so we kept visiting and ended up joining a short time later. So I have some memories. Oh boy, do I have some memories. I'm just going to share a few with you today. And a lot of you long timers watching here, I see Marilyn Brown is watching. I see a lot of you who pop on that are going to remember a lot of these things as well as I do. So when we joined, let's just talk about the building for a minute. Basically, the sanctuary that we know and love was pretty brand spanking new. And so we had that. And then we had the brick building that now houses our office space and our adult classes. We had that, the sanctuary, and a kind of nondescript lobby, but it still served the purpose. And an old fellowship hall, which was kind of dark and dreary, dark paneled, and it had a linoleum floor, I think, when we joined. It was spiffed up over the years, but that's basically what we started with beautiful gold and orange and avocado green plastic molded chairs, which I think some still live up in the balcony to this day. So you didn't know they were artifacts, did you? So the things that I most remember about that fellowship hall, now it was nothing like the Great Hall. It had no basketball court. It was pretty small, right? It had a stage. It had a very small kitchen, which we'll hear about in a minute. But that was where we had continental breakfast. And so the 2 coffee urns were there. And the kids loved it. Our kids loved it because every Sunday without fail, there were Dunkin' Donuts munchkins. As far as they were concerned, that's where Dunkin' Donuts was located. Like, they didn't know any better. So that was a big hit with our family. And I can remember still so many great conversations with people that I didn't know then, but now I hold dear. Another thing that happened in that space, in our old fellowship hall, that's where the adult Sunday school classes were, because the kids' classes were in what is now the adult wing and the office wing. So the adults had dividers in the Great Hall, which was very echoey with those floors. And the dividers really just divided the space, but they did not divide the sound. So, you know, it's like when you go to the movies and there's a lull in your theater and it gets really quiet, and then the surround sound next door goes crazy with like an airplane crash or something. That's kind of how it was to go to Sunday school. You could like hear everybody's class at once. It was very informative. And then we ran out of room in there. And actually, one of my adult Sunday school classes for at least a year or two was in a trailer in the back parking lot. So in the winter, we would wear our coats and gloves to Sunday school and keep them on because it was freezing. Another fun memory I have of that old fellowship hall was the sandwich project. And back in those days, we got started early in the morning and we went on and didn't make the last sandwich sometimes till after dark. And we had people working the whole time, all afternoon. I think the most sandwiches I remember being made was 25,000, which is a ton of sandwiches. But the funny thing about those sandwiches is that in addition to the bologna and the cheese and the bread, we had this kind of secret sauce we mixed up that had mayonnaise and mustard mixed together in, I don't know, it's probably locked away in a vault, but there was a proportion that you used, which may or may not have been half and half. I don't know. But the funny thing it was so messy. I mean, you think we make a mess now. There was that mixture everywhere, like on your shoes, on your clothes, in your hair. And then one year we got it carpeted. We got the fellowship hall carpeted with like that fancy indoor-outdoor carpeting. And so the sandwich project put down plastic over the floor and it became an instant slip and slide. That was very exciting. Another funny thing about that era in the sandwich project was we didn't have a walk-in fridge or walk-in freezer. So whoever was in charge had to figure out where to keep the bologna and the cheese overnight so it wouldn't go bad, because we had to get it from the store on Saturday and then you somehow had to keep it cold till Sunday. So one year, my dear friend and our longtime church member, Amy Hewlett, was in charge, and she decided just to keep it in her minivan overnight because it was January, right? What could possibly go wrong? Well, what went wrong was that early Sunday morning, the sun came out and the thermometer started going up. And the next time she looked in her minivan, there was bologna juice everywhere. So her minivan smelled kind of like a bologna factory, probably till they sold it. So that was fun. Another fun thing I remember in there was Halloween. We didn't have Trunk and Treat yet. Donna Knoll brought that to us much later. But in those days, the big kid attraction was the Epic Box Maze that was made by the youth. And half the kids would be delighted and laughing and doing it over and over, and the other half would be screaming and trembling because it was pretty horrifying if you didn't have the courage to finish and then you got stuck. So youth would be deployed to go in there on rescue missions, which was very sweet and also kind of hilarious. But once a kid did it, that was the rite of passage. You knew that you were a cool kid once you could complete the whole box maze. So I just think back to those days and they were so great. So simple, a box maze, cardboard boxes and packing tape, right? Nothing fancy. We didn't need fancy things. Another thing that was definitely not fancy, but sweet nonetheless, was our live nativity. And I think the word live really meant more about the fact that the human beings present were living. Because in addition to Mary and Joseph and the angels and the wise men and the shepherds, we also had kids dressed up as animals because we didn't have real animals. We just had kids dressed up like donkeys and sheep. And I think one year we had in fact, I know one year we had a Tigger. I'm sure there were probably piglets from time to time. Sometimes Halloween costumes would show up. You just never knew, but it was a live nativity nonetheless. So all those days were so great, and the people I met and the relationships and just everything kept us at St. Luke's and even inspired me to join the staff at St. Luke's. I never saw that one coming. But the point is, we still grew. Even without all the fancy stuff, we still grew. The ministry still happened. The fellowship still brought smiles and full tummies. The program still enhanced everything else. We didn't know that we needed anything. And probably we would have been fine without it, right? But we do enjoy it now. So we are still growing. St. Luke's is still growing, even today, even during this time that we're not there. We don't have the fancy things now, and we don't even have the building now. Like, we don't even have the old animal costumes that I'm sure I still have somewhere. But we're still reaching people. We're still picking up the phone. We're still sending cards and notes. We're still connecting through online worship and so many more outreach opportunities that have just kind of presented themselves to us. So some new ways that we're still planning to connect is we're going to start next week with Wild Wednesdays for the kids. Just a quick 20-minute fun thing with me, with a Bible story, maybe a crazy science thing or an art thing or a cooking thing, who knows what it may be. But it's something kids can do at home after they watch, and it's going to be simple. It's not going to be fancy. We're not ordering a kit or anything. It's just going to be stuff you have in your house. We're going to do an ice cream drive-through social for the kids and their families. We're still setting a date for that, but families can drive up and we will distantly deliver a wrapped ice cream treat of your choice. I mean, how fun will that be? So those things are coming up, and coming up this Sunday at 4 o'clock is our trivia, our big church-wide trivia night. It's actually a trivia afternoon, I guess, because it starts at 4 o'clock and everybody's welcome, and it can just be you on your device. It can be your family on your device. It can be anybody, any age, anyhow. So we do hope you'll join us, and I hope they have a question about that mayonnaise mustard mixture. What was that, mustard-aise? I hope that's a question, because if it is, we'll get it right. All right, y'all. Greetings from North Carolina, and I'll be checking back in with you soon, I'm sure. Take care, everybody.